All right, you guys, I'm learning how to use Zoom too, so bear with me, okay?
Okay. Same here.
So how's everybody been going? Have you guys been doing your best to stay safe and healthy? How are you guys been doing?
Well, yeah. Well, me, I'm not working. I have
Okay.
bosses. They're amazing. I'm staying with my kids.
Okay.
I'm getting paid, which is great because I was like worried. All of my friends are unemployed. They
Yeah.
lost a job, and I was just panicking.
Yeah. I want to say all last week was hair on fire for me. Look, how are you doing, Paulina? How are you doing? Uh-oh, hold on. Let me take you off mute. Hold on real quickly. Okay. I'm sorry. How are you doing, Paulina?
I'm good, thank you. I didn't know it was working. I was like, oh, can she hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you now. All right, good. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so we're right at 12. This is what I was worried about. I was worried about, will everybody be able to use Zoom? Hey, Daniel, what's up? Look, I'm gonna try not to be too excited, but I have missed you guys a lot. Um, I don't think I've ever worked this hard before. So making the transition from face-to-face to online instruction has been an adjustment. So hold on, let me unmute you, Daniel. Let me see, I have Maria here and I have someone on the phone who's joining us. Hi there, who's joining us from the cell phone 773-474?
It's me,
Who's me?
Magali.
Oh, hi, Magali. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good to
Come
see
back.
you. Good to see you. Okay. Let me unmute Maria. Maria, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. All right. All right. I see someone else. We have Betsy. Awesome. All right. So you guys bear with me. I know that there are people still coming in. I'm trying to unmute you guys. All right, so good. So we have Magali, Betsy, Maria, Daniel, Paulina, Joanna. Okay, we'll get started with this group. I know, listen, you guys, the last week we were together, I missed that Wednesday due to being sick. So I'm really worried, not worried, but I'm really concerned about this class in that I don't want us to lose touch. So whether we are meeting with Zoom, whether you guys find it easier to perhaps talk one-on-one, it'll really be up to you guys to make sure you're reaching out to me to let me know that, so that you know, I can kind of stay on top of that and so I don't lose track of you all. So far, just to give you guys an update of where we are, so far, the class will be transitioning to what I call hybrid platform. So if you guys are familiar at all with online classes, the hybrid platform means 50% face-to-face and 50% independent study. So I know that's totally different from our normal forum where 3 hours a day, 2 days a week, we were face to face, right? So I was able to kind of really assess skills in real time. I could tap you guys on the shoulder and say, hey, this is something that you need to work on or review. But as we move to this new format, you guys are really going to have to stay on top of it as well. So here's something that I've done just to kind of jumpstart that process. Last time we saw each other, don't worry, Paulina, girl. I know my dog is going to be barking and going crazy in a minute, so don't worry. Uh, but I wanted to tell you guys, last time we saw each other, you guys received your CRT results. We discussed in very honest terms what we need to do moving forward in order for you guys to successfully complete the course. I'm still laser focused on that. Okay. Did somebody have anything they wanted to add?
No.
Okay. I do
No.
want to show you guys something real quick before we kind of move on. Do you guys see at the bottom that, or if you don't see it, there's a chat option. Do you guys see that chat option at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a question, if you don't see it, that's okay. But if you do see it, if you have a question, if you just have a concern and you want to kind of maybe talk to me sidebar, use the chat option. So let's say you want to interject. You may have a question. You want to say something. Since I can't see you guys raise your hands or acknowledge that you may have something to add, use the chat button. And then that way, awesome. Thank you, Joanna. That way I can see, you know, those who may have a concern. Who is this? Is this Sam? Hey, Sam. Is that Sam? Hold on. Yes, that's Sam. Awesome. Okay, good to see you. But yeah, so keep in mind, use chat, you guys. So okay, let me calm down. Let me there's so much I want to tell you. Hey, baby. Okay, there's so much I want to tell you guys, so let me organize it. For this week only, we are meeting today, 12 to 1. But as we move forward next week, moving into next week, I'm transitioning the meeting times to 2 times a week. Okay. I want us to stay in the time zone of 12, but we would be ending our meetings at 1:15. So it'll be 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday, 12 to 1:15. Okay. And again, I'll post this to Brightspace. I'll kind of lay this out in writing so you guys will have it for your records. But how do you guys feel about that meeting schedule next week? What do you guys think in terms of availability? Does 12 to 1:15 work?
I feel like that's fine.
It works for me, yeah.
All right, what do you think, Daniel?
That works good, yeah.
Okay, what do you think, Maria, Sam,
I
Betsy?
think that's fine too.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, awesome. If you guys have any issues with that, either use the chat to let me know or email me sidebar so we can work ways around it, okay? But plan for next week for us to move to a 2-day-a-week platform, okay? So instead of the 3-hour meetings, you guys see I've shortened it drastically. But what that will mean is independently, you guys are going to really have to be on your hustle. Morning. So you guys will have to stay on top of Brightspace. You'll have to stay on top of assignments. But it will require a shift in how we operate. Usually it's class centered. I give you guys the information, you jot down notes, you study and review it. With this new format, I'm still giving information, I'm still teaching, so it's still instruction based, but a lot of the work will require you guys to work independently. So,
Question.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Who had something to say, Magali?
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paulina, go ahead.
If we want to raise up our grade, are you gonna be giving assignments to raise up our grade?
Absolutely. So keep this in mind too. Let me talk to you guys about this. As far as your grades, did everybody get a chance to view their midterm email?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. If you haven't checked that out yet, I emailed between Wednesday to Saturday of last week. So any one of those days, make sure you guys are checking. What I did in giving you your midterm grade, I also gave you guys a blurb about what your grade means, right? So individually, I pointed out strengths that you guys had and weaknesses. So I am attempting to make you guys aware of what areas you will really need to target your study, your practice. So hopefully you guys have that starting information. But beyond that, Paulina, just to kind of address your question as well, I am going to lay assignments out weekly. So every week you guys will know what assignments you should be working on to complete that week, okay? So moving forward, all of our deadlines, I'm still deadline based, but they are a little bit more fluid, okay? So where I may say you guys will have a week to get this done. Hey, Benito. I'm so happy to see you guys' face. So sorry, look, just for kind of breaking character, but keep in mind that I will lay out every week a schedule or outline of assignments. So you'll be notified what assignments we're working on that week, when it's due, and I'm putting due in air quotes because there will be some flexibility with due dates. I know a lot of us have changes in our work schedule. Hold on, let me tell my husband to hush it up. I know that you guys have changes in not only your class schedules, but also your work schedule. So I am committed to you guys doing whatever you have to do to get the work done. So if we have to go beyond a due date here or there, I'm perfectly okay with that, okay? But just stay on top of those announcements. We'll talk about that before we get out of here, okay?
Okay.
One thing that I need to tell you guys about your grades. Moving forward, I am removing the book club assignment. It's going to be very hard to have you guys meet. It's going to be very hard, even though doable for presentation, but I just want to remove that from the table, okay? So are you guys okay with us removing the book club?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Joanna.
I truly enjoyed it. I finished the whole book already.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we may talk about, let's say, for instance, any extra credit opportunities. I may ask you guys perhaps to answer a question or write about something from your book. But as far as it being required coursework, we're removing it as required coursework, okay? And I do apologize. I know you guys have been really, getting into your books. You kind of develop those relationships with your group members. But I think with the changes that we're all having to make, it just makes sense to get rid of that book club assignment.
Yeah.
Something else, this is really important, a heads up, you guys. We are eliminating the portfolio from the final assessment. Okay, I see your face, Daniel. But even though we are removing the portfolio, we will still be participating in a final CRT assessment. Okay, so again, let me clarify. There will no longer be a portfolio. So at the end of the semester, we spent a lot of time talking about you guys taking your essays, revising them in order to show growth and improvement, right? We will still work on papers, but the final assessment, what will determine whether or not you move on to the next level, will be based on your coursework plus that final CRT, okay? So just know that, you guys. So 2 things are being removed from our required coursework. And let me, you guys know how I am completely visual. So I'm changing the screen up just a little bit so you guys can kind of see here. Just some things for you guys to make note of, and I'll post this to Brightspace. Know that there will be no book club requirement. So we know that. This is going to free up 15%, but I'll talk about that later. I don't want to put too much on you. Know also that we are getting rid of the portfolio final assessment. So know that, okay? We're keeping that in mind. We will still have the final CRT. And that will still take place during week 15. So I'll make sure I give you guys heads up about that. So because we are still having that final CRT, if you guys remember, and give me just a second, let me grab something out of my bag. I still have all of your assessments, but I want to show you guys something really quickly. Do you remember this rubric? Right, you guys see this CRT rubric? I'm going to share this on Brightspace just so that you guys are familiar with the guidelines for annotation the guidelines for summary, and also the breakdown on the points for CRT. These are the skills that we will still continue to study. So we are still keeping up with our review and practicing of annotation skills. We are still keeping up with our review and practice of summary skills, and we are still practicing and preparing for writing a timed essay. That is still a part of the final CRT, okay? So this is all important. Look, don't make me laugh. This is all important because all of the assignments that we complete moving forward is really seeking to address these skills, okay? So I'll put a pin right there for now, but just to kind of give you guys some sense of where we are moving forward, okay? What else did I want to share with you guys? We'll talk about the changes to the course calendar, but I wanted to really, again, reiterate the commitment that will be needed in order for you guys to successfully pass this class. You guys will need to commit in some form or fashion to the hybrid format. So if you cannot check in to our class meetings beginning next week, Monday and Wednesday, 12 to 1:15, you will need to let me know, because all in-class participation points will be connected to our class meetings. So we'll talk about that. Another thing, not only is the platform changing, we've talked about changes to the course calendar. Currently, right now, we are in week 11, okay? So this is week 11. We just kind of lost a week with prep week last week. So we lost a week last week. So a lot of the assignments that are outlined on the syllabus, I've completely started to eliminate a lot of them. So I know that where we are right now, last time that you guys received an assignment from me, we were working on Amy Tan's mother tongue, right? So far, you guys have completed annotations. I'll talk about the changes to annotation with us moving to an online platform. And the post-reading questions, yes?
Mm-hmm.
I know I've received emails from Paulina. I've received emails from Benito. I received an email from Kane. Is there anybody else who has turned in their assignment for the mother tongue essay, the post-reading questions and your annotations? Anybody else turn that information in? Let me get rid of my share.
I wanted to know if you received mine.
I did receive yours, Paulina. I had yours, Benito, Kane, and hey, Angela. And who else did I receive? I think that's all. Did anybody else turn in your homework assignment? You turned yours in, Joanna? Okay, I'll double check yours. I know you guys have. I may be missing some. We've been getting hit over the head with emails. I'm sure you guys have as well. So if you've turned it in and I didn't respond or didn't mention your name, just try to resend it to me so it hits the top of my inbox, okay? I see you, Magali. Did you turn yours in, the mother tongue assignment?
No, was that the questions before I had left?
Yes, exactly. That was the homework before you guys left.
Okay, yeah, I still have the paper. How would I send that over? Like a picture?
That's a good question.
Or...
So Magali is asking, how would she send that information over? You guys have one or two ways. If you've completed it already, you can take a picture with your phone and you can email that information to me or text it to me, whatever is more convenient.
Okay.
If you have not completed it as of yet, you can type your answers into either a Word document or the body of an email and send it to me that way, okay? So you do have some options as far as sending it in. But I'll put this in a Bright Space announcement for you guys as well, just so you know your options on getting information in. Did you guys get my email about the best way to contact me with the new Google Voice number. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll post that to Brightspace as well, but it may be complicated for some of you to meet through Zoom. It may be complicated even for some of you guys to get on email, right? So I've set up a Google Voice number for our class. So if you feel more comfortable texting, you guys can use that number to text. I can get back to you right away. If you feel more comfortable asking questions one-on-one, use that Google Voice number. But whatever you guys are doing, just make sure you are staying connected. That's really my main thing, for us to stay connected and engaged. So we have several platforms to do that. We have email, we have our weekly Zoom course meetings, and we'll also have the Google Voice document as well. So we'll talk about that. If you have not turned in Amy Tan's mother tongue assignments yet, get that into me as soon as you can. I'll say Saturday to be safe as a deadline, but if you guys need more time than that, just let me know, okay? All right, any questions so far?
That's cool.
No.
Okay. Yes, Marissa, hey there. How's it going?
Hi. I've been here the whole time, but I was gonna say, you know how like we had to do the annotations for the book too? Like in the
Yes.
book, do we take pictures of the book too?
That's a good question. Yes, please, if you can. But I do know some of my other ARC instructors, my other colleagues who are teaching ARC, they are kind of struggling with what to do with annotations. Do your best with annotations. If you can take the picture, I'll take that. Some people send in their writing notes. Like I had one student who sent in their reading notes. So as they were reading, they were taking notes. So similar to annotation, and they sent in those notes. So you guys have the option of either jotting down your notes as you read and sending that along with the questions, or taking a snapshot picture of your annotations from the book. Okay, and I'll work with you guys on that. So that's a good question, Marissa.
Okay.
All right, any other questions you guys before we kind of move on?
No.
All right.
No.
Look, I heard the baby say no. Okay, let's see. Something else to keep in mind. Let me show you guys something really quickly. Let me split the screen again to show you guys the changes to the coursework. So we've talked already about these assignments. I'll come back to this page. This information that I'm currently adding, I want you guys to know I'm posting all of this to Brightspace. So if you struggle, I know some of you have me on phone, so you can't actually see the video. If you can't see the video, I post all of this to Brightspace, so don't worry. But I did want to let you guys know about the changes to the required coursework. So we know no portfolio, we know no book club, but this is what we are left with. In class participation. This is now changing. It was originally 25% of your final grade. It is moved up to 30% of your final grade, okay? And when I talk about in-class participation, what I mean specifically is this will cover all homework assignments, all Zoom meetings. So actually checking in, me now taking roll based on who's here, that will apply to in-class participation. Checking into Brightspace. I have a tool that allows me to see Brightspace engagement. So weekly checking into Brightspace, I like to see that. That'll give you guys points, as well as any journal assignments that I give and grammar exercises, okay? So keep that in mind with in-class participation. It'll cover moving forward, homework, all Zoom meetings, regular engagement with Brightspace, electronic journal, and grammar exercises, okay? Another thing, quizzes. Uh-oh, I probably didn't have to space that far. But with quizzes will now be worth 15% of your final grade. Now, I know you guys are saying quizzes. Wait a minute, Miss Cole. We're just getting the hang of Zoom. I will be doing, as we move towards the end of the semester, single question quizzes. And that will just be my attempt to make sure we're all engaged in taking care of our assignments. So far, the only quiz that we've taken is that midterm CRT quiz. So that score will count towards your quiz score, plus other low stakes quiz that I'll administer in our remaining 4 to 5 weeks left of class, okay? So I'll give you guys a heads up on that, but know that quizzes will be worth 15%. So you guys know that we are not doing the portfolio, but we do have the final CRT. Now, you guys remember that the portfolio was worth 30% of your final grade in the class, right? So with us removing that requirement, I'm amping up the CRT. So the final CRT will now be worth 30% of your final grade in the class, okay? And keep in mind what that CRT is. You guys are given an article that you then annotate, summarize, and complete comprehension questions, right? As well as an in-class essay. So just like we practiced with that midterm CRT, that is what we will be doing with the final CRT. So 30% of your grade will now be based on this test. So the good news is you guys have already assessed your skills. A lot of you guys already know how you do with annotation and what you may need to do to improve. We all know at this moment how we do with summarizing and what we will need to do to improve, but we will work on summary a lot more. And we will talk about strategies to help with test taking, so with the comprehension portion and also with the essay portion. So again, there's still a lot to learn and time for us to get that in. Lastly, we are still writing papers. You guys turned in your revised essay number 1 prior to midterm. I have those graded. I just need to get them back to you. So give me 1 second. What I plan to do is scan your papers. So those of you who submitted your essays, and I'm just trying to find them. So that's what I'm looking for in my little bag here. Here it is. Okay. So I have your papers. You guys know all about your papers and your rubric. I am going to get your revised versions back to you guys via email. I'm going to scan the revised versions with the new updated grade and get that to you guys so you can see how you've improved and what you may still need to work on. So essays and papers are now worth 25% of your final grade in the class. So if you guys will take a look at that, 30 for in-class participation, 30 for final CRT. So this is the bulk of your grade, comes from what we do, Zoom meetings, day-to-day exercises, homework, and how you guys will perform on that final CRT. Also, the papers, writing first drafts and revising, that will also count heavily towards your grade. And just to give you guys a heads up, we will have 2 more papers before the end of the semester. May, I believe it's that week of May 12th, May 11th, okay? And I know you guys are saying, what, 2 more papers? But one of the papers is a response paper, so it's slightly shortened. And we will have a final paper assignment that you guys will be turning in with that CRT. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but kind of keep note of the changes to the required coursework. You guys see we removed book club and portfolio, okay? So can we, because I spent a lot of time kind of just going over the business of the class, but can we talk about any questions or concerns that you guys are having, like really briefly? And again, I want to point out the chat at the bottom. So if you don't feel comfortable really kind of voicing it to the group, feel free to add your concerns to the chat at the bottom. But if I was to ask you guys to pick an adjective, you know, and we know about adjectives, how they describe a noun. If I could ask you guys to describe how you're feeling, or describe kind of what's going on in terms of changes to the class, what would be a word that would best sum up how you guys are feeling in terms of the changes I just discussed, and your ability to successfully complete the class? What do you guys think?
I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay, I hear Marissa says she thinks it's okay, and I'm going to do my best to support you guys. So I'm still a resource for you. I still sit here to support you guys. So you still have that element. What else? If you could pick an adjective. So the adjective I'm going to use for Marissa is all right. Well, I'll take all right. It's all right. What else do you guys think? I see you,
I
Angela.
would
What do
say a
you
little
think,
bit
Angela?
confused.
Oh, let me get you off mute, girl. Hold on, my bad. Okay.
How you doing, Ms. Cole?
I'm doing well.
I think to me it's understandable. It's so understandable. I'm not feeling like pressure, so
Okay, that's good. I've been feeling a little pressure, guys.
I'm not feeling too pressure. I'm not feeling
Okay.
pressure.
Okay, I see you, Maria. I see that you have taken your mute off. Awesome. How do you feel? What are your, if I were to ask you to pick an adjective to describe how you're feeling with these changes, what do you think? What about you, Magali? I see you.
I was a little bit confused just for the fact of the assignments.
Okay, so confused about how we will carry out or how you'll submit assignments, or what specifically about the assignments are you confused about?
Not submitting assignments like through online, because yeah, we know how to do that, but just like see if you actually receive them, like so they won't be late or.
Okay. All right, that's an awesome concern. So she's saying that as far as how you guys submit assignments, or how we are moving through due dates, and I think that's a valid concern. I am completely open to whatever works best for you guys. If it is easier for you to submit assignments by taking pictures of them and then emailing them to me, that works perfectly. I accept that. If you feel that it's easier for you to type out your homework or answers in the body of an email and then send it to me that way, that's perfectly okay with me. I can accept your assignments that way. If you feel that email or taking pictures is complicated, we can perhaps talk via text through other options, but right now, I'm open to all modes that you guys are most comfortable with in order for you to get the assignments in, okay? So that's one. As far as due dates, you guys will have flexible due dates. So even right now, let's talk about Amy Tan's mother tongue. Last week, I had sent the email for you guys to send that in. And I've got maybe like about 4 or 5 submissions. Well, for those people who haven't submitted, I'm not going to penalize them that they haven't submitted as of yet. So there is some flexibility with the due dates. The only thing that I'm asking you guys, especially as we move forward, to keep in mind, sometimes I need your responses before our next class meeting. So I don't want to go over assignments that people haven't yet turned in. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be like you're sitting at home and writing out the answers as we're talking about them in class, because that's not giving me room to assess what do you guys know, how did you engage with the text. So I will still need you guys to attempt to work week to week. So whatever assignments I've given for a particular week, know that you have until the end of that week to get that assignment in, okay? So we'll make due dates like that. So I may say something like, turn in your questions along with your journal entry by Friday. But Friday could mean Saturday, wink, wink. It could mean Sunday, just as long as you get it to me before our next class meeting, okay?
Right.
So there's flexibility in that, but just start to look at it like this. Week by week, every week I have something to do for my English 96 class. So whether I turn that in on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I just know I need to turn it in before we meet again on that Monday or Wednesday, okay? So as long as we do our best with that, I don't really plan on being a police in situations of due dates. You know what I mean? Because I know we're all doing the best we can with the situation that we've been given. So a good question. So what else? Okay, so I've heard from Marissa. I've heard from Magali. Who else? Who am I missing? I heard from Angela. What else do you guys think about what's going on, what we just talked about, and kind of what we're doing moving forward?
I feel like it's pleasant, like all the new work that you fixed with like 30%, and then the quizzes. I feel like that's pretty good.
Okay. Okay. All right, good. So keep in mind, I don't want to scare you guys with quizzes, but from time to time, especially if I feel that engagement is lagging, I may throw out a couple of quiz questions over what we've covered. I will give you guys a heads up, you know, that on Wednesday, we're going to have some quiz questions so that you guys can prepare. But that is kind of my only way of assessing who's catching on the concepts, who's keeping up. So it isn't designed to penalize you. It's really just designed for me to assess the learning in the class, okay? All right, good. Magali, did you have something you wanted to add?
I think just the journal entries. I didn't quite know how we're gonna do that.
That's a
I
good
wasn't aware
question
of that
too.
one.
With journal entries, and I think I have one for you guys next week. Journal entry, again, however you guys see fit to give it to me. Some of you can either still write it in your composition books. You can
Journal.
take a picture of it. Some of you can write it in the body of an email and send it to me. So it still follows those submission guidelines. Whatever is the best way for you to get it in is how I'll accept it.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
What do you think, Benito? I haven't heard from you yet. What do you think so far about the changes made to the class? How are you feeling about these changes? Do you think they're manageable? What do you think?
At first, seeing the changes there, I was a little worried, but the more we talked about it, the more I think it's doable and all that, with making the best out of the situation we got here.
I agree. That's what we're doing our best to do. And look, I see you over here, Samantha. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Do you have any anything to add to, if you were to, you know, pick up one word to describe, you know, kind of how you're feeling or what you're thinking about these changes? What do you think?
It's manageable.
Okay. All
And
right.
we have to work with what we have.
Okay, good. If you guys are feeling anxious or feeling some kind of way, we can talk about it. I am feeling anxious as well. I feel that in determining who will pass the class, it is all still based on who exhibits college level readiness, okay? So that still does not change. We're still assessing who, in terms of their reading and writing skills, will be best able to do the work in an English 101 or in a Sociology 221 or any of the other college level courses, okay? So that is still the goal. So again, just like I told you guys before, we last saw each other right after we got the midterm grades back. Independent study, you guys. It's going to require that when we meet like this, you guys bring your books. You bring something to write with. We are still learning new skills. We're still going to be practicing skills and reviewing those skills. You guys are going to really have to do your part to stay on top of that. Even though the platform has changed, the requirements for the course has not changed. So at the end of this, you still have to be able to show, just like you guys did with the CRT, show that you can comprehend what you read. You still have to be able to show that you can summarize the ideas or thoughts of others, and that you can also develop your own idea, take a thesis and develop that into an essay. So those are the 3 areas we are going to focus on for these next 5 weeks. And that doesn't include spring break, okay? So I do have a plan in mind. I'm excited that you guys are committed to staying engaged and participating. So from there, we will move forward. I did want to kind of pull in the reading, the Amy Tan Mother Tongue. This reading is really important to our theme on language and identity, right? In class together, we read the first few paragraphs in order to practice annotation. But now that you guys have read the essay, now that you guys have processed the essay, before going over the post-reading questions, because I know not everybody has completed that as of yet, I do want to ask you guys a question that was explored. Do you guys feel that our language is influenced mostly by our families, or do you guys feel that language is influenced mostly by our peers? Do you guys remember that question? Yeah, what do you guys think? Let's talk about that, you know, just discussion. Because just a quick recap, the Amy Tan Mother Tongue essay, we learned about Amy Tan as a professional. We know she is a writer of literature. She proclaims herself to be a lover of language. She feels that language empowers us to kind of express ourselves and use our imaginations, but she wanted to discuss the different uses of language, right? So she focuses specifically on different Englishes, right? So in the essay, Amy Tan lays out familial, that, and here, let me, the familiar form of English that she used with her family. So she talked about what I call informal English that she uses at home with her husband and with her mother. She also talked about the grammatically correct English that she uses with her peers or her colleagues. But she gave us stories, commentary to address how those different Englishes impact her, right? So before we kind of get into that, what do you guys think about this question of who influences our use of English? Do you guys feel that your use of English has been influenced by your parents or family? Or do you feel that it's been influenced by peers? Or are there some of you who feel that it's influenced by both? So you guys can either feel free to kind of jump in, or if you guys look at the bottom where it says reactions, you can raise a hand. So let me see, can I raise a hand? Well, that's kind of like raising a hand or clapping. But if you guys see anything like that that you wanted to speak up. So, okay, I see you here, Angela, I'm sorry, Joanna. What do you think about who is the biggest influence on our use of language? Is it family or peers?
I think it's both.
You think it's both?
Yeah, both.
You said that?
Now, if you guys have, hold on real quick, Angela, I'm sorry, Joanna, let me interrupt you. If you guys have your dog barking, just mute your either your phone or your screens, just so it blocks it out. But you should still be able to hear us, okay? All right, go ahead, Joanna. What were you saying?
So yeah, for me, as me, I do think that it's both family, friends.
Okay, now if you can talk up just a little bit, Joanna.
Sure. I feel like it's both.
Uh-huh.
In my kids' family, especially family, because my parents they all speak Spanish, and because I was born here and raised in Mexico. It's like that's my first language right there. But when I'm out, either like when I go to school or at work, I kind of like switch it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And we've talked about code switching. I tell you guys all the time how even though I'm your instructor, right? And the language I use in the class, it should be formal. Sometimes because of the comfort we have with one another, sometimes I switch too in between formal and informal. So in our day-to-day lives, you guys will see a lot of switching back and forth between that formal and informal use of language. Amy Tan talked about that. She talked about how at home she switches, right, to that familiar form versus her being at work or with her colleagues where she uses that more formal. So Joanna says the influences is both family and peer-based. What do you guys think? What else? Who else wants to add? I see you, Benito. What do you think?
I also think it's both. I think it's kind of like the platform of it comes from your parents and your family, but as you grow up, it kind of comes more based on your friends, because growing up, and still now the base of the words I use are mostly words my mother uses, but when I'm more relaxed, it becomes more how me and my friends talk.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Who wants to add? So you, so just to be clear, Benito, you feel it's both as well, right? Both. Okay, all right, I see that. What else?
It's both as well.
Okay, good. So you guys are saying both. I definitely agree. One thing I know for sure, though, that kind of puts me, I want to say maybe at odds with this is my language. For me, I want to say was influenced a lot by my parents, my mother, in that I was constantly corrected all the time, right? So even if I would want to move into a more informal, familiar version, it was still strict in that you ought to adhere to the standard edited English, right? But when I would get with my peers, oh my gosh, they would really talk about how I talked. And I don't know, and for some of you, I would be, I would get comments like, you talk like a white girl, right? Has anybody experienced this?
It all came.
Some of us in some cases. Well, so where I was not being comfortable so much to speak informally at home, now I'm not being comfortable in speaking with my peers either. So it was kind of this dual chaotic process where I really wasn't comfortable in either mode. I wasn't comfortable in family mode, and I wasn't really comfortable in peer mode as well. So it definitely is both, but then again, what do you do when both kind of sabotage your use of English? I want to bring up too my son, because I have really tried to get on him about his use of English, but he's really heavily influenced by his peers. He speaks or uses the vocabulary of his peers, right? Either his age group, hip hop, etc. So although I may constantly try to correct him, he insists on that informal peer influence use of language, right? So I see that a lot. Did you guys notice some of the complications that Amy Tan had in shifting between her mother tongue and that standard formal edited use of English? Let me throw an example out there. Do you guys remember how Amy Tan discussed how her mother would put her on the phone in order to handle day-to-day tasks like doctor's appointments, to speak to customer service reps, right? So Amy Tan was attempting to lay out breakdowns in our uses of language, especially when we move into society. Now, at home, the way her and her family spoke was just fine. But when they moved out into society, did you guys see the changes that happened to how they were using English, right? Throw some other examples out there for me, if you guys will, of how the different forms of Englishes that Amy Tan talked about, how those were judged once they moved into society. Let me know some examples you guys saw.
Well, one example I could think of is how she talks about how her mother's extremely smart. She talks about all the things her mom does, but nobody sees that because her English, for lack of a better word, is broken.
I love that example, Benito, because Amy Tan is doing a intentional job of trying to lay out the fact that her mother is intelligent. She said her love of writing, her love of language, she said she got that from her mother, right? You guys remember that in the text? So she credits her mother with even introducing her to her love of language. And it's unfortunate that her mother is then judged by her use of language, right? What else did you guys see there with that dynamic? What else did we see?
She felt ashamed of her English in a certain part of her life because of how heavy her mom's accent was. Like, if they would go to the supermarket, they would go Elbow places, and her English was just like very hard to understand. So she kind of felt ashamed of her English. Yeah, that's
absolutely. And I think that, in being honest, Amy Tan did reveal that it would kind of make her ashamed, because society, now see how we moved now into society. Society prejudges people and their use of English. We talked about that in the handout, good English versus bad English. We know people will judge you based on how you use English, and the examples that Amy Tan laid out of how her mother's intelligence was put into question, how her mother overall was just being valued. Remember how the doctor wouldn't really want to talk to her mother? Remember that, you guys, in the reading? The doctor wouldn't give her mother adequate response or feedback because he just didn't really want to engage in her form of English, right? Oh, I just got something on my screen that said my internet connection is unstable. I hope I don't lose anyone. But another thing we noticed, did you guys see when Amy Tan's mom was calling about her stocks, about her financial portfolio? Did you guys see that in the reading?
Yes.
Yes. That was another example of Amy Tan's mother being intelligent. She knows what's going on with her money. She knew what was going on the market. She was calling with specific questions in mind, but because of her use of English, it limited the service that she received. It limited her access to this vital information. Have you guys had any experience yourself or any connection to these examples that kind of shows how society pigeonholes our use of language? Did anybody feel connected to Amy Tan's experiences? Look, let me see hands. You guys can kind of put your hands up here. Yeah. It really kind of, even though I knew this was going on, because you guys have seen the videos. Have you guys seen the viral videos that has been posted, especially in this current administration, of people who are, let's say, in the grocery store, and whether they're talking Spanish or Arabic with their loved one, you see how they are being attacked by society. Have you guys seen these videos? Right? it goes into, it speaks to these examples that Amy Tan covered in her reading, that society as a whole, it will judge you based on how you use your language, but it will also determine your status, right? The status of importance based on how you use the language. If you are not using the language according to that standard edited version, then your status in society drops and it falls, right? So we are getting signals or messages from society that the better you are at using English or language, the better your opportunities, the better your chances, yes? Yeah. I had a student last semester who was from Nigeria, and keep in mind the English of Africa, of Nigeria, is King's English, British, British, but they are still talking English, okay? She said she receives pressure from her mother to speak American English. She is being inundated at home and her family and friends, and the only way you are successful, the only way you will make it is if you speak English properly, right? And if you guys have known anything about my instruction, I am dead against this form of stereotyping. It is a form of stereotyping, okay? Even though Amy Tan does not directly call it in the text, everything we saw about what she went through and what her mother went through, it is a form of stereotyping. It is people taking her use of English and subscribing to that their own labels, right? If you don't use English well, you must be ignorant. You must be dumb, right? That's a stereotype. And it's one that tends to really impact, if you guys have been paying attention, it really impacts minorities. So it really impacts the communities like the immigrant community. And when I say immigrant community, I mean wherever you are from. Amy Tan, first generation, she represents the immigrant community for Asian, right? We have the immigrant community where English is a second language, whether Spanish is that first language, whether French is the first language. We have Haitian students as well, whether Arabic, I have Muslim students. Wherever you are fall in that spectrum, if English is your second language, you are normally prejudged about that, right? If you've had any shortcomings from education, you are judged for that. So I want us to explore this a little bit further. We have 3 minutes left in the meeting. So here's what I want you guys to know as I get ready to close up. If you haven't turned in your Amy Tan questions, turn those in, because I really want to dive into the questions, but I want to wait until you've all had a chance to explore them. So if you haven't done Amy Tan yet, get that into me by Friday, wink, wink, Saturday or Sunday, okay? Just do your best to get it in. We will have homework or information for you guys to consider in preparation for Monday's meeting. We will be meeting Monday and Wednesday from 12 to 1:15, okay? So here's what I want you guys to keep in mind. We got about 2 more minutes. Moving forward, in your textbooks, there is a reading that is entitled, Do We Judge People on the Way They Speak? So this is by Jennifer Guerrera. This is page 68 in your text. You guys can either jot this down or I will post it to Brightspace, okay? But I want us to read that. And in reading it, I have a audio podcast that goes with this reading. So when you guys read it, I want you to try to follow along with the podcast. So I'll post both the reading as well as the podcast onto our Brightspace course page, okay? So that's one thing I want you guys to read in preparation for Monday. Another thing that I want you guys to keep in mind, and let me do the quick share screen with our last little minute here. I am also attaching a grammar assignment that picks up where we left off on our discussion of fragments and run-ons, okay? I have you guys' handout on fragments and run-ons. So I know you guys are missing some of your resources with that. So I'll post that to Brightspace, but read your notes, review what you guys know about fragments and run-ons. And if you look here in our split screen, I am going to post this activity to Brightspace, but this is a, wait a minute. Did we do this in class already?
No.
Okay, just want to be sure. I'm getting deja vu, you guys. This particular activity is proofreading exercise, because we know that the way you guys will catch a lot of your errors in writing is by proofreading. So I'll be posting this to Brightspace. Don't worry about due date on this yet, but just explore proofreading this paragraph and making corrections to any fragment or run-on that you may encounter. Okay? So 2 things so far that I've just laid out for next week. We are reading the passage, Do We Judge People Based on How They Talk? I'm attaching with that a radio podcast that explores this a little bit further, and we'll pick up a discussion from there. You guys are also asked to practice your grammar skills on run-on and fragment sentences. I'll be posting this paragraph for you guys to proofread. In completing this assignment, you guys can either type it into a email that you plan to send to me, or you can type it in a Word or Google document that you can forward to me, whatever is most convenient, okay? And lastly, so I have the podcast. Lastly, I'm asking you guys to summarize, based on the guidelines that we've discussed, summarize mother tongue. Wait. Not mother tongue.
The other one, the do we judge?
You know what? Read and listen to Do We Judge, but I do want to see how we summarize mother tongue. So let's summarize mother tongue, okay? So you guys, like I pointed out earlier, each week you'll be given assignments, and you'll have a week to complete those assignments. So the fact that I'm giving this to you guys now, by next Monday or Wednesday, you guys should be looking to have this completed, okay? So week to week is how we'll talk about deadlines.
So Monday, we will just have the mother tongue summarized?
Yeah, well, if not summarized, here's what I definitely want you guys to have done by Monday. Read the Do You Judge People and listen to the podcast. The reading and listening alone is what I need you guys to have done by Monday. But other than that, the summary, the grammar and run-on and fragment that I posted for you guys here, that can be completed by next Wednesday, wink, wink, Thursday, Friday, whenever you guys get that done, okay? Hey, Nina, look, so I see Nina here. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just kind of looking at the screen, but if you didn't get a chance to hear everything, if you need side-to-side clarification or wanting to know what's going on, stay after. I'll answer any questions with that. Other than that, our first class meeting went surprisingly smooth. Prepare for a similar forum for Monday and Wednesday of next week. Make sure you guys are familiar with the assignments and that you come prepared, okay? In our meeting on next week, we will still have some real-time reading of poems. There's some poetry I'm going to lay out, but we'll talk about that later. I don't really want to burden you with anything else until next week, okay? So far, so good. We're going to make this happen, you guys. I'm so happy to see your faces.
Yes.
I don't think you guys know, I haven't worked this hard and I don't know how long. So we take for granted how just getting up and coming to class, how simple, look, that was. Having to move to an online platform, I've had to take crash courses in Zoom, YouTube. So it has been a lot of learning taking place. I just ask you guys, be patient with me, bear with me. Any questions, don't wait. If you have a question, don't sit on it. Let me know as soon as the concern arises so we can address it, okay? Other than that, you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoons. Stay healthy, stay sane, and I'll update Brightspace with our homework. Okay.
You too. You
All right,
stay
you guys
safe
have a
too,
good
Miss
one.
Cole.
Stay safe.
You
See you,
too.
Betsy, Marissa,
Thank
Nina,
you.
Joe,
Bye,
Daniel,
guys.
Pam, Paulina,
Thank
and
Bye.
all
Thank
right,
you.
guys.
you.
See you,
Thank you.
Joanna. Bye, Mom.
See you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, see you, Benito.
Mm.
All right, I'm staying for anybody who needs me, so know that. Hey, Nina. She's gone too. Angela, you need me, girl?
Oh, I was trying to find a way to
Oh, you
kick
trying to
out.
close? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
At the bottom, it should say end meeting. Do you see that like little red thing that says end meeting at the bottom?
Mm,
You don't see it.
It's not even on my phone.
It's not even, you may need to
Okay, I
change
see
your
it. I
phone.
see
You
it.
see it? Okay, I'll see you, girl.
Okay, you stay safe, Miss Cole.
All right, you too.
All right.
Hey, Nina. Husband, is that you? Oh. I got a bum on.